You've got to understand, your parents and things like that, they want you to do the best for you, right? So you've got to look at it from their perspective as well. So always look at both sides rather than just they're stopping me from something. Hello guys and girls, welcome back to another episode on the Falcon YouTube channel. Hope everyone's doing great and you've had a great start to your week overall. I've been really looking forward to doing this episode as there's some key things that I want to go over. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, and please let me know in the comments if you can relate to this. If you haven't already, by the way, definitely check out our previous episode. I spoke about habits of successful traders. These are things that I wish that were kind of drilled into my mind in earlier stages. So if you haven't checked that out, go and check out the previous video. But with that being said, we're going to be talking about a topic that I think a lot of people struggle with, and that's support from whether it be your partner, whether it be your siblings, family, etc., especially when it's in the trading space. Now, what I want to do is give a bit of context here, because it's really, really important when you're doing anything, whether it's business, whether it's trading or something like that. You have to understand and almost remove the expectations that you have of people, because it'll be a lot easier. So what I want to do is I want to start off by sharing just a small story of my trading journey. Hopefully you can relate and resonate with that, and if you do, let me know in the comments. And if you've gone through something similar, I would love to know, because this is something that people, they ask us time and time again, how do I deal with that when, let's say, their partner doesn't support their trading career? Well, first up, I want to give you a bit of an insight. So when I was in my trading career, and I was quite a few years in at this point, but not really made any money, still learning, going through from different courses and just kind of learning and finding my feet in the market. There came a point in which that my mum, she wanted me to get a job again, because she didn't really understand what trading was. So at that point, as you can imagine, they want the best for us, which we always try and take it negatively, but really and truly, you've got to understand, your parents and things like that, they want you to do the best for you, right? So you've got to look at it from their perspective as well. So always look at both sides rather than just they're stopping me from something. But at the time, remember, I already originally started off as an engineer. So I was an apprentice, I was going to college one day a week and then working for the remaining days. So with that, with my family, in terms of like jobs and things like that, it was always very certificate based. So, like lawyers, doctors, that kind of stuff. So there was always an underlying expectation of family and business people and all this kind of stuff, where what I was doing was almost unusual, as you can imagine. And I'm sure you guys and girls have had the same thing, where they think, what is this Forex thing? Is that actually a real job? Can you do that for a career? They ask all these questions. So they got to a point where they didn't understand it, and more so my mum, she's really, really upset, to the point that she would be crying, honestly crying, as thinking, I'm wasting my life and I'm not doing anything. Here's my brother and sister and all kinds of other families succeeding, and I'm still doing this thing that they don't understand. So you've got to understand the fear there. And it got to a point where I actually did get sucked into it. So what I did is I applied for a job to be an apprentice architect. So slightly different, but where I could already, there was this original program. For any of you engineers and architects, you'll know a program called AutoCAD. Because I had a decent enough level in AutoCAD, of course, when you know how to draw, then again, you can apply for different things like architectural practices. So it was a big house builder, and I had a lot of architects in-house. So I thought, well, I'll go for this job then. Same thing, go to college one day a week, then still be able to work the remaining days to gain the experience and work my way up to be an architect, work on some really cool projects. And I kind of almost let trading get pushed to the side of like, oh, maybe I'll pursue that in the future, because, all the pressures and things like that. So I went for the job. It was 3 people. The other 2 people actually went to my college as well. But the thing is about the job, it was interesting. It was because it was at a time in which that the job was on condition that if they win a certain amount of contracts in terms of houses they're going to build, because they're a big house builder, if they win these, I think it was like 2,000 houses, then I would get the job. They would take on another person to train up and etc. and invest longer term. So good news is I got the job. So I got the phone call, got the job. It was on condition of that. Now, at that period of time, which is a pivotal moment in my life, which I will always trace it back to that they gave me a call and said, look, unfortunately, this was like a week after, we're not going to be taking you on, because we kind of went into a bit of a mini recession in the UK and globally for that matter, but more so in the UK, especially the property industry, the housing sector, it got affected massively. So of course, as you can imagine, the younger people, the apprentices, the juniors, they get cut. You understand it. They have to make people redundant. They're not going to take me on in that period. So I got the job, but I didn't get the job. So it was kind of bittersweet that I was almost happy the fact that I got the job, because I felt like I was doing the right thing for family. But at the same time, I was happy. It's almost like the world threw me a lifeline, like the universe threw me a lifeline. And you could not make this up. That the yearly contract that I had, it was £15,000 a year. And at that time, £15,000 a year for at my age at that point was actually quite good as an apprentice, and you can work your way up. It's not fantastic, but it was a good start. Now, literally not long after, I made that same amount of money, £15,000 in 1 month. And I remember that moment showing my mum, saying, look, I was going to work a whole year for this, a whole entire year I was going to work for this. And look, I've made it in 1 month. Not 1 penny less, not 1 penny more, the exact figure. You could not make it up. And I remember showing one of my friends, a close friend actually, he's actually a Falcon member, but he'll recognise this story. I remember showing him and saying, look, I just made 15k. He said, no way, because that's kind of unusual. I come from humble beginnings. No one really makes that kind of money. I said, no, I've actually made 15k. And at that point, I was going through different periods where I was risking a little bit more and things like that. So I'm not particularly proud of that from a sustainability perspective, because looking back, I probably shouldn't have made 15k because I wasn't trading enough to warrant that. But besides that, it was still that figure. Why was it that one figure that I was going to make in a whole year happens to be the figure that I make? So that was a very, very interesting moment for me when I realized in my head that, do you know what, this is happening. This I'm going to make this happen regardless of what people say. So we always have moments in our life. Now, I'm not saying that all of you are going to have that exact moment, but I can always trace that back, because I just remember it like it was yesterday. It's so raw. And I remember even going to the interview and waiting and then being seen, and almost like part of me was like, I almost don't want to get the job, but I'm still going to, just out of being competitive, I still want to get the job just to win in that respect. And that was just a competitive nature, but got it, didn't get it, worked out good for me. And what I've realized in those moments is that rather than trying to explain to your spouse, your family members, your siblings of why you're doing this Forex thing or whatever, or you're trying to convince them that this is a business, remember, educate them, but don't convince them, because you'll never convince them. They don't understand it. So how could you possibly have the expectation that, wouldn't you find it a little bit strange if they was to say to you, do you know what, this is incredible, like, hey, have you done your ASR? Like, I highly doubt it, because it's just not going to happen. So how can you expect someone to be passionate about something and support you fully when they don't understand it and they fear it? So it's more important that you just do a slight bit of education. I'd strongly recommend that, a slight bit of education, but then more so just work in the shadows, just get it done yourself. That's exactly what I did. And fortunately that scenario played out, that I was able to do that. And even then it wasn't actually that good enough. It was just more so, okay, I'll kind of take a step back now and let Mark do his thing. And eventually, I kept growing and growing and growing, and it's worked out good for me in the long run. But at the same time, I get it. I can understand that some people have completely different pressures, where they've got their mum and dad on their case every single day. They've got, some serious pressure of, you should be going to school, you should be doing this, or they've got a partner that doesn't fully believe in what they're doing, and then they're questioning them, and then you want your partner to support you. I get it. But you have to understand, at some point, you've got to take responsibility for your own life. And you got to realize, you can live with failure but not regret, right? So you can live with failure but not regret. And what I mean by that is that rather than then getting sucked into then maybe listening to people and then not doing what you truly are passionate about, what you want to pursue, you're going to then resent that person in the long run anyway. So it's really, really important that you make a stance. So look, this is my life. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to pursue. Are you going to support me or not? And if you're not, that's fine. I don't expect you to be ecstatic about it. I don't expect you to be, jumping head over heels about it, but this is what I'm going to do and this is my time. And then that way you set an expectation that, okay, cool, they're going to do their own thing. We still have a relationship. This still works. But in the background, you kind of plant the seed that, look, I totally appreciate everything you're saying. And you know what's really good? You can phrase it in a way that, look, it's incredible that I actually have a family that support me, to look out for me and look after me. That's really, really important to me. But for right now, I'm going to pursue this. And then I'm also going to be looking at other things as well, to kind of just leave it at that point. You got to give yourself a bit of time. The last thing you want to be doing is every single day feeling like that you've got to convince whoever you're surrounded by as to why you're doing what you're doing. It's not fun. It's going to drain the energy away from you and drain your focus away from what you actually need to be doing to learn how to trade, regardless of what strategy you're pursuing, whether it be Forex, stocks, cryptos, or something else. So I wanted to share that kind of story with you, as it's a very personal story to myself, but I was thinking about it recently, is that I can only imagine with the messages that we get, the amount of people that ask that, what do you do when your partner doesn't support? What do you do when this? You got to ask yourself, who are you trying to convince? Are you trying to convince them or convince yourself? And that is when it really clicks into your mind. You're thinking, hold on a minute, I'm trying to satisfy everybody else and all my energy is going on convincing someone why I'm doing something. And if you create a habit of that, you'll do it somewhere else in your life. And then you'll constantly be in this justification of game of why you should live the life the way you want to live it. But at the end of the day, it's your life. You've got to pursue what is truly important and happy to you. Because in order for you to make other people happy, you've got to be happy yourself. So you've got to look at it from that perspective. But I hope this resonates with you, and I would absolutely love to know, for anyone that has gone through something similar and come out on the other side better, let us know in the comments. Share your tips, anything that you've done in particular that helped with that. And really just, I want this video to be a message to you that you guys and girls can even come back for comfort. You know, if you can come back for comfort from this perspective, to understand, when you remove the expectation of what others should have about your journey, you become a lot happier. Because remember, only you have to be happy and super passionate about what goals you want to achieve. You cannot expect other people to be just as excited as you, and sometimes that is what holds us back. So when you get rid of that and you realize, right, this is me, I'm going to focus on that, guess what? I accept that not everybody should support me, because we have these beliefs and expectation that, well, they're my family, so surely they should support me. And it's these expectations that hold us back. So if you remove that and you realize you're in control of your own future, your destiny, and keep yourself to yourself, and then you can come out on top. And go in with a mindset, not to prove people wrong, because that will only get you so far, but do it for yourself. Do it for yourself, that you want to empower yourself and create a life of abundance and freedom. And at a later stage, once you've got it, once you're in the position that you can do that, you can then show. You can then show them and then help them. And then guess what? There'll be the same people that ask you, oh, how did you do it? So you'd rather be in that position rather than wasting all of your time and energy convincing every day. Remember, educate, not convince. But I hope you really enjoyed this episode, and I wanted to push that message out there, a little something different to what we normally talk about, but it's so relevant to the trading game, because I get it, I've had it, I've experienced it. So I wanted to share that with you all. But hope you've been enjoying the content. We've got a series coming soon. A really, really cool how-to series that I think is going to provide value in lots of different areas of trading. So let us know if there's anything in particular that you would like to see. We've already storyboarded and planned quite a lot of the content, but let us know, we could add a few things in. But again, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching. I hope you have an incredible weekend ahead, and I will speak to you soon, guys and girls.